From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, April 5th, 2021. We'll take a look at the visible satellite picture across North America here as the sun rises on Monday morning. A couple very obvious swirls. One stands out really easily here across the North Atlantic. This is one that moved across the central U.S. over the last 3 to 5 days. We have another one here. A little subtle comma shape there in the clouds moving across the Prairie provinces, bringing some precipitation to the region over the last 24 to 36 hours, and some high winds as well earlier in the weekend. Right now, the moisture, the precipitation in southeastern Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba, anywhere from Winnipeg back through Brandon, and then again off toward kind of southeastern Saskatchewan down toward the border with North Dakota. So we look at the high-resolution NAM model, the forecast over the next 3.5 days. Things going to be pretty quiet across the prairie. Just a chance for some very light snow across central and southern portions of Alberta as we get into kind of late Wednesday into Thursday. So the next 3.5 days, really through the rest of the work week, going to be a lot of sunshine and dry conditions across Saskatchewan and Alberta. And I'll go ahead and, Saskatchewan and Manitoba. The only place that really has a shot for some measurable precip here as we get late in the day Wednesday into Wednesday night. That's going to be back here, anywhere from maybe Calgary down toward Medicine Hat, maybe far southwestern Saskatchewan, picking up on some of that. This is just the raw forecast total snowfall through Thursday, from Monday into Thursday, from the NAM model. Again, you see very light, maybe a trace of some snowfall here, up to a few centimeters, getting up closer, and maybe some very localized areas as you get into the higher elevations near the Calgary vicinity. We'll put the NAM and the Euro side by side. You see the same thing. Both of these through 7 p.m. Thursday. Dry in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Chance for some very light snowfall here across central and southern portions of Alberta as we get into, again, late Wednesday into the day on Thursday. Now, the pattern over the next 7 days, if not a little bit longer, is really going to be dominated by this ridge, this area of high pressure across eastern Canada that's going to be taking storm systems and deflecting them down from the Pacific, into British Columbia, to the Pacific Northwest, and then down into the northern U.S. I'll just hit play on this. You can see what I mean. You see the little troughs, the little areas of low pressure being squeezed down below this ridge across eastern Canada. So what that does for us here, we'll look at a little bit of a longer precipitation forecast, but it really keeps us on the drier side. There will be storm systems sneaking by the prairie, especially by Alberta, but a lot of the moisture gets deposited in British Columbia because of the trajectory of our storm track here. Again, coming in from the northwest to the southeast. So again, we got the system departing here. A little bit of a shower activity making its way out of southeastern Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba through the rest of the day today. That'll clear out of here. We'll see a dry Tuesday across the Prairie provinces, a dry Wednesday, and then it's late Wednesday into Thursday. We see the storm system sneaking in from British Columbia. The area of low pressure moves into central Alberta as we get into Wednesday afternoon, lifts then into northern Saskatchewan by Thursday morning. And again, with a trajectory like this, with the system lifting because of our big ridge off to the east, this is what's taking the system, deflecting it off to the north. It really doesn't bring much in the way of precipitation eastward across the Prairie provinces. We just deposit a little bit of light snowfall, maybe some light rain shower activity from Calgary down to Medicine Hat, central and southern Alberta, as we get through the day Thursday. Again, you see the front extending down from that area of low pressure, and as it lifts, we just miss out on the heavier precip eastward into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So now here's Thursday night. This is getting into Friday morning. We'll see another storm system being drawn up from the upper Midwest, a closed low that's just kind of meandering northward into Ontario. That might bring a little precipitation to portions of Manitoba late Friday into Saturday. That's something we'll talk about a little bit later in the week. Check back in here with the updated precipitation forecast. We'll see what happens with that. These meandering closed lows, pretty unreliable, but as it stands now, it doesn't even look to make its way into the primary ag belt here from Winnipeg on to the west. We see another area of low pressure try to sneak in here as we get into the weekend across the Prairie provinces, maybe bringing some light rain or snow showers as well. We'll talk about that one as it gets a little closer as well within the Prairie forecast section on the customer portal. But Both of these looking to be pretty unreliable as far as producing, real measurable precipitation across the prairie. We can even go a little bit further, but watch the pattern continue. We're now getting into Tuesday of next week, April 13th, April 14th. We're not seeing much. Here comes another system that may bring some precipitation to parts of the prairie as we get all the way out here to April 15th. So we've covered the next 10 days without much in the way of, a real soaker or anything that's going to bring significant widespread precipitation to the prairie. So we end up with something like this. We've got the European model on the left, the GFS model on the right, both of these looking at the next 7 days all the way through April 12th. Of course, you see some activity here. It's not as if we're going to be bone dry, but these systems that sneak through, they're going to be bringing more in the way of isolated, scattered, light amounts of precipitation. You're not seeing anything like we see with the big swath here from the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest of the United States up through Ontario. Nothing like that across the prairie, at least over the next 10 to 14 days. And again, that is because of the jet stream doing something like this over the next 2 weeks. We've got week 1 on the left, and then on the right here we've got week 2. This is from the European ensemble model. Again, the pattern being dominated by this big ridge across eastern Canada, the Canadian Maritimes. As we head through the next week, storm systems active track coming in from northwest to southeast. This deposits a lot of the moisture in the Canadian prairie. We see some of these systems being deflected off to the north as well. That does not help us in the prairie provinces as well. Gives us opportunities for storm systems to sneak in, bringing light scattered precipitation. It may give us a bit of a temperature perturbations as well, and maybe a windy day or two. And then as we pivot into week 2, the ridge continues to dominate things, but we've got even weaker flow across the prairie now. We're seeing kind of split flow, or maybe some systems sneaking in across the U.S., the others being deflected up and over the top of the ridge here. So week 2, not looking all that active as far as widespread heavy precipitation across the Canadian prairie either. In fact, we look at the precipitation forecast from the European ensemble. Again, week 1. Week 2, as we head through week 1, we've already covered it. We've got the system that's departing right now that brought some precipitation over the last 24 to 36 hours. We have a couple systems that want to sneak in, but with the storm track kind of diving in from northwest to southeast, we deposit a lot of that in British Columbia on down into the northern Rockies. And then as we head into week 2, with that ridge still dominating out here, we still may see some systems try to move in from British Columbia, but those will be deflected off to the north, and then maybe seeing systems try to sneak off across the Pacific Northwest down into the central United States as well. But really, this spells dry weather overall over the next 2 weeks across the primary, ag regions of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. As you get up further north toward Peace River, a little bit less concerned about real dry conditions. I think you will have a little bit more in the way of opportunities for regular precipitation, keeping things a little closer to average, keeping the bar a little bit closer to average in the northern Alberta region. But everyone else really looking at generally drier conditions over the next 2 weeks, with some minor exceptions to be found. Temperatures over the next 15 days, we've got days 0 to 5, then we've got 5 to 10, then we've got 10 to 15 over here. Temperatures are going to be pretty close to average, if not a little bit more mild at times, though with some cold air up here across Alaska and a storm track, sometimes doing something like this from northwest to southeast. It is possible, we could see some shots of cold air making their way into the prairie as we head through the next 10 days or so. And certainly you see that reflected. We'll look at the next 10 days in Calgary. You see quite warm to start the week off. Little shots of cold air here and there. Nothing too bad, but certainly, as we transition from March into April, this is to be expected here. Medicine Hat, again, a shot of cold air as we get into the end of the week, into the weekend. Similar look here in Saskatoon, just trending a little bit cooler as we get later into the week. And that is going to be the name of the game here with a storm track like that. Generally drier, looking at shots of cooler air, but not looking at much in the way of, Arctic air being able to work its way into the region. Regina, here's your next 10 days, and then we'll finish here in Winnipeg. Look at your next 10 days, your high and low temperature forecast. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and hope you have a great week.